So you're okay with expanding the military as it is part of the government?
No, actually. By the way, one of the reasons that we're here is because Kamala Harris is a warmonger who wants to send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine while our own border remains wide open, and 320,000 kids are missing in sex trafficking because of your preferred candidate, Kamala Harris. Are you worried about those 320,000 missing kids?
Of course I'm worried about children. However, I don't believe that the vice president is responsible for that.
She's in charge of the border. She took credit for the border. She's the border czar. Joe Biden said this is who's in. She was said, I am in charge of the border. How has she done it doing that, by the way? Has she done a good job managing the border?
I honestly disagree with all of the past administrations on their border policies personally.
Okay, but do you think she's done a good job?
No, I don't think anybody's done a good job.
Do you want
However,
more?
there was
Okay.
an incredible, very strict border bill that went into the Senate and was voted down because Donald Trump himself wanted it to be a voting issue.
It's BS. And you
No,
know it.
people. There's literally quotes. There's literally quotes
let me
of
ask
people
you about
saying it.
So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but let me ask you: how many people would have been allowed to cross the border every day in the bill? Tell me.
It's in the tens of thousands.
5,000 people a day.
Yeah.
It would. So that means.
I'm not against that.
Do you believe in borders?
I do believe in borders, but I'm not against limiting by a random number. That's a random number. So we need to pay attention to the context in which people are crossing the border, why they're doing
context.
that. Context is important.
So when someone robs a bank, if they're hungry, that's okay?
Say it again.
If someone is poor, should they be able to break into America?
That's not at all what I'm insinuating.
No, what's the context then? I don't understand.
Nobody's breaking into... When you're talking about legal border crossings...
No, these are...
You're talking about 5,000 a day legal border crossings.
No, these are not... These are illegal entries into the United States of America.
Do you know that there have been more arrests under this administration for people crossing the border than there were during Donald Trump's
Yeah, because there's more people coming across the southern border.
So context matters.
Yeah, 10 million people are illegally in the country.
So let me just ask one final thing. What is Kamala Harris's greatest accomplishment?
Kamala Harris's greatest accomplishment? I think it depends on who you ask, but I would say...
You.
Yeah, I would say it was cutting child poverty in half.
She did that?
The Biden administration, her and Biden did that, yes. And that was...
How did she do that?
So, the child tax credit, basically from COVID...
Oh, you mean the one from the Trump tax cut?
It's not from the Trump tax cut.
Yeah, it is actually.
No.
Yeah, it's actually from the tax cut from December of 2017. The one that Kamala Harris is running against is the one that you're touting right now.
No, it's not the case at all,
let me just...
You can lie, but...
No, I mean, you're just totally wrong.
I encourage everyone to look up the child tax credit right now on your phones.
Yeah, the child tax credit was part of the
And look
Trump
on
tax
what bill
cut.
it was passed. Look what year it was passed.
It was during the... Yeah, it was 2017, literally. Donald Trump expanded the child tax cut credit in 2017.
So earlier, I heard you call Washington a den of thieves, which I fully agree with, keep in mind. I'm going to preface that immediately. Don't agree with Democrats. However, I want to know from you, and I want to get your opinion on, why is Donald Trump any different from all the other thieves that are in Washington right now, looting and pillaging the earnings of the working class?
It's a good question. First of all, he cut your taxes. Number two, he made it easier for you to own a home. Number three, we had no new wars, which I'm sure you care about. So this is important. He actually starved the beast of the military-industrial complex.
Starved it? Really?
Yeah. Did Russia invade Ukraine?
Yeah, they did.
Under Trump?
No, but they were probably going to do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
They've had a very big blood and soil thing going on in Russian politics
hold
for a
on,
while
this is
now.
important. Let's think about this logically.
It was kind of coming.
So under Bush, Russia takes Georgia. Under
Right.
Obama, Russia takes Crimea. Under Biden, Russia takes the Donbass. Why is it that they didn't do anything for 4 years under Trump? I thought he was a Russian agent.
Well, I don't agree that he's a Russian agent.
No, for sure. I'm just being sarcastic, saying, why is it for 4 years Russia stopped all of their incursions when under Bush, Obama, and Biden, it was a all-you-can-eat buffet in the Russian hemisphere?
Probably something relating to Russian politics. I'm not sure.
Okay, no, but this is the point, is that the answer is that Trump was a peace president, unlike the den of thieves that are currently running this country.
I don't know if I would call a peace president someone who drops a Moab to kill terrorists in, where was it? It was ISIS, I believe, right? He just dropped a Moab on that mother. Which is pretty cool. Keep in mind.
No, I mean, I do want to ask a question. What is a terrorist?
A terrorist is someone who, well, commits terrorist acts, bombings, shootings.
Sure.
Let's see, what else?
So should those people be...
Well, if they're threatening the life of their fellow countrymen, then probably, yeah.
Okay, so we have no moral difference on that.
No, but I think it's interesting that you call him a peace president when he does that. You excuse this military action and call him a peace president, even though I'm not saying that the target was not justified. Keep in mind.
Fair enough. No, but again, he did not start a new conventional ground war where every president in the last 40 years, including Reagan, has. That's very noteworthy. And so you asked the question, what makes Trump different? I'll tell you one thing, which I think is important. If Trump was like all the rest of them, they would not have impeached him twice, indicted him 4 times, and he would not have to survive the assassination attempts that he has. There's something different about Trump because he threatens to expose and uproot the entire cabal and the cartel that has been making everybody in this audience poorer and them richer.
The same cabal that allowed him to become a billionaire?
Well, him becoming a billionaire was building great hotels and buildings. Not
right, off of a loan from his father.
Right, yeah, okay. And it's also, I mean, this is interesting. People criticize the loan. If I gave you $1 million, could you turn it into $5 billion?
Probably not.
So it's pretty talented for Trump to turn $1 million into $5 billion, yeah?
Well, when you come from a dynasty of businessmen, it's kind of expected you pick it up.
Okay, easy. Okay, I'm not going to even get into that. Easy to minimize the success of entrepreneurs when people have built nothing in their life. Well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Hold on.
So,
Calm down. You've talked this entire
no, but
time.
representation matters to you.
Oh no, hold on. One second.
Matters.
How have the Democrats done overseeing the black community the last 40 years? Are they wealthier, richer, happier?
Everybody has made mistakes. What cycle do you think Republicans will nominate and elect their first black Republican senator to serve?
You know what's
in
interesting?
office?
I think skin color is irrelevant. Why do you care so much about it?
I just told you, buddy, it's not irrelevant because it doesn't matter
hold on.
to you.
No, it's interesting though. But like, you say representation. You know what? Stop it. The only representation that matters is values, not skin color.
Oh, values. Right, Christian values are important to you because 100% of Republicans in Congress represent Christian values.
Bingo.
Black values are not important to
what
Republicans because 0.001% of your representation.
Tell me very slowly so I can understand. What are black values?
I'm talking about the values of different communities.
No, tell me what they are. Educate me on what black values are.
That's you're picking a stupid.
You know what
part
black
of
values are? They're Christian because they're one of the most Christian populations in the country. Yeah. That's what black values are.
And I was just wondering, without affirmative action, how do you think we can bring these people in to bring a variety of opinions?
Yeah, no, I mean,
views?
just have a meritocracy, right? So you have 3 white men around you. You can see 1, 2, 3. So if one supports affirmative, no, it's okay. If one supports affirmative action,
right.
It would mean that you would be okay turning to those 3 men and saying, I deserve the position more than you based on something that doesn't matter more than something that does matter.
I feel like that's one facet of it that we're not also paying attention to is that people that are graduating from the same schools. They're graduating with the same degrees.
With lower test scores, though. Much lower. Every study of affirmative action, for example, the Harvard case showed that it was nearly 40% lower test scores for people of color versus their white male counterparts and Asian counterparts.
And so how
at
can
some point,
is that like why would that happen? Do you think
why?
It's yeah?
Why
What causes that? Do you think it's just because people of color are more stupid?
No,
or
of course not.
Right.
I mean, people of color come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds that don't prioritize education as
so
much.
how do we
but
fix
that's
those socioeconomic statuses?
Right, that's an interesting point. Not should we try to penalize white males that are competent to go run our systems and our institutions. So those are 2 different things.
Right.
So what we're doing is our institutions are now becoming less excellent. Our country is not working like it used to because we basically told people that are very qualified and very competent that, sorry, we're not going to put a position for you here. For example, the U.S. Secret Service. Let me just give you one example, okay? We can all agree that protecting a president, whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, is super important, right? But now the Secret Service has said that we want to have 30% of all our agents be women, which, by the way, they have lower fitness criteria. So they have less pull-ups, less push-ups, slower mile time.
That's something that's due to your
hold on. Exactly. Yeah, no, but this is affirmative action, right? And so therefore,
there's fields I don't think that's a good. One second. I just don't think that's a good example because women will never be as strong as men, at least genetically.
So that's an interesting question.
So I think it should be something that's ideologically based.
Will women be as good at engineering as men, person for person?
Not necessarily, but
okay. Well, then, how is that different than the Secret Service example?
Well, the problem is that
because the male mind is wired different than the female mind. By the way, men will never be as good. Hold on, I'll prove it to you. Men will never be as good at counseling or psychology sessions as women.
Men will never be good at nursing or elementary school education as women. We have certain giftings as our brain is wired a certain way. Women are far better gifted at micro topics, so individual connection, empathetic type conversations, healing people that past trauma and wound. Men are much better at macro topics, right? Trying to build a building, put a skyscraper up, trying to talk geopolitics. And I'll prove it to you. When you go and you see 5 women eating lunch, they're probably talking about micro topics, conversations they had, relationships, friendships. Men, they're talking about politics, sports, or the stock market.
That's not necessarily
true.
true.
Yes, you guys all agree, right?
I mean, there's a reason.
No,
I'm
these
here,
these are bimodal general truths, right? Of course, there's exceptions, but
it's not a general truth, though. I feel like women have the capability of having political conversations.
Of course they do, but it's not the general wiring or nature of women.
It's not. There's no wiring for your brain to like Donald Trump. Like that's not a real thing. I feel like.
But wait a second. But do you think that men and women are made different in our brains? In our
certain things, but not necessarily. It doesn't channel you to be a specific thing.
Like what things?
Well, there's specific wirings to produce certain types of hormones, and that's differences that are genetically.
So you don't think that men are more likely to like contact sports, more likely to enjoy football, UFC, hunting?
I think that's because of a societal norm in general. Over a lot of time.
No, come on, you're smarter than that. That's not true.
Well,
hold on. So why is it
there's women that play football? So you can't just say
that. And there are men that dress in drag, but those are not the general truth of it.